Yeah.
You know I'm a businesswoman.
Alright, okay, but then this giving trouble here. Let me get rid of that. Alright.
So how are you doing?
Child, I am okay. I have some little health issues here and there dealing with, but as you get older, you know that, then I kind of let myself go for a while, so you just have to deal with it,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but other than that, I'm great. I'm great.
I don't see you though.
That's what Bevel was saying. I did an interview with him, and he wasn't seeing me. But hold on, turn on video.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
it does sound a little bit like um, um, radio. Hold on a minute. Let me just see if I can turn another light on.
Hold on. I don't understand why my video is not working. It should come on.
Yeah, you need a video on.
Hold on. Let me see what it says. But but
It
but
just says no camera.
and it's on. I don't know why it's doing that. I did a whole hour interview with Beverly. He was like, "Well, could I at least see you?" I was like, "But I keep putting it on. It's just not going on." I turn off video, turn on video, turn on video, and it's on.
Well, you got video on. You just don't have the camera on.
Oh wait, no,
So
is it
turn the camera to you.
on? Yeah, it just okay. It just came on and it just went off. Something is wrong. I don't know what it is. I'll have to.
You'll have to look at it at another time.
Yeah, because it's on now, but I got a glimpse of it, but then it just went straight. It just went blank. Anyway, listen, it's a small interview. It's not gonna be long. Well, I say that we don't know. When we start to chat, it just goes.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah.
I'm ready when you're ready.
Okay.
You know me. Since we're only hearing you, I'm filming this while you're hearing me, so I can see myself in my camera very well, and
Okay. Great.
I'll send you a copy of it. It sounds like we're on radio. This would have been great to do for my podcast, but go ahead.
Yes. So I
So
just gonna put on the recorder here now too as well. And I'm gonna put the volume up a little bit more and whatnot. So we're back here doing the story of the Lady Mahogany, and I'm glad this evening that I have a phenomenal artist, Stephanie Stevens. Stephanie was part of the cast crew member of the two Lacage of All in St. Martin. I always say the first one was the real deal, the second one was a kind of generic version of the first one.
hmm
And Stephanie Stevens did the Tina Turner number and Janet Jackson in the show, as well as some others, Pearl Bailey and what have you. So at that time of my life, I had gotten to do a gig to do backstage work, and that's where it started for me. Learning more about the art form. I was amazed. It was like a kid in a candy store when I started seeing these drag artists fly in and they look normal one time, and when you hear you show Chantel in about an hour and a half, it's like mega superstars with the pounds, the makeup, the hair, the this, the that. I was like living. I was like, this is what I got to do. And then when you heard what the paycheck and they were working, I was like, geez, damn. I mean, I was like scraping all the little $50 at the bar, the Spanish clubs, and and the little French clubs and stuff like that. So we have a little bit of a feedback on your end.
okay, so just talk a little bit on my end
Yeah.
until they stop the. They have the guys are doing construction on some of the
Oh, okay.
they're out there, and it's not in the building, it's actually on the road, in between the buildings. So
Yes.
they usually stop at 5 o'clock. So
Okay.
that's why I said 5 o'clock.
I'm here living it up here to have Stephanie Stevens in the house so as to chat a little bit about my experience. And I think that's where the Lady Mahogany got birthed after because it took me to another level. They were instrumental in bringing me out. Let's put it that way, bringing the lady out in me. So, Stephanie, welcome. I mean, I don't know
Thank
if
you.
there's anything you want to add to the introduction of you because I know you also too. Stephanie does most of her costumes and whatnot, and Stephanie has been around for a long time. His real name is Larry Edwards. He was in the documentary too that was sent to me.
Not Larry Edwards. Larry Cannon is
Larry,
my
sorry,
name.
Larry Stevens. Pardon me, sorry. You know why I say Larry Edwards? Because of lately I've been following Larry Edwards from Las Vegas.
Oh.
He's the hot chocolate, who's the original Tina Turner. So I've been following, so it just came right out. I do apologize.
No, it's
So
all good. It's all good.
Larry
I
Stevens,
have great respect for Larry Edwards. He's done an amazing job keeping up
listen,
the art.
yes, isn't he? Yes, and he's getting all his acolytes and stuff now, even for RuPaul Drag Race that gave him all his acolytes, and I think he's featured in a book. Now he was nominated for some other award and stuff like that, which was great. And I kind of keep up and try to follow some of these things to keep abreast with what's going on in the arts and in drag and whatnot. All right then. So let's take it from there. So give us a little history of you. From what I got from the documentary, Divas. It was Divas, Love Divas, or something like that. That
Well,
you
I'm now running Pronoun TD. I'm the CEO of Pronoun TD and the Stephanie Stevens Show, and now I'm going to be running my own podcast, That Girl from Orange County. So, as you know, a lot of the girls now that have been on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Larry, 1 minute, second. I think I was moving too fast for myself. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, I got my coffee. Okay, let's do this.
Luckily, we can cut and edit all this stuff out.
Yes, but I kind of keep some of these things because the girl who does the stuff for me, she uses all of these little stuff and use it for different things. And okay, now we are on and recording. So I will have to go back a little bit. Well, no, we have the recording here, just the visual, So she will just cut and case as we go along. So yeah, so tell me more about. Okay, go right ahead into Pronoun TV.
Okay, well, Curtis, you know I am the CEO of Pronoun TV and the Stephanie Stevens Show, and I am now doing a new podcast called That Girl from Orange County, which will feature all of the girls, whether they've been on RuPaul's Drag Race or in Miss Continental. A lot of the Miss Continentals and now a lot of the girls that have been on RuPaul's Drag Race were from Orlando or Orange County. So, and I am from Orange County, so, and Orlando, but I grew up in Fort Lauderdale and Miami. With that being said, I'm also now I'm going to be going back on the road with my one woman 80s con show, which will feature Tina Turner, Dionne Warwick, and all the ladies that we love. I will be doing a tribute. Anita Baker, Patti LaBelle, Diana Ross. I will be doing all that in a one woman's 80s con show traveling throughout the US and Europe in the summer.
Oh, great! That sounds phenomenal. I really don't know how you keep it up. What you gotta tell me kind of wonder pills they've been taking to keep that up. It's great news to know that you still can keep going at it, at this rate,
Well, you know,
and
Curtis. Well, you know, Curtis. It's hard to say. A few years back, I had a little rough patch with. I had what you call it. I had had a stroke, but I didn't have any paralysis with that stroke. So this was a good thing for me. I had something going on with my legs for a while there, but they put me through therapy. So putting me through therapy, it just put my legs right back to normal. It wasn't like I had a major stroke on one side or the other. And I was able to go to rehab and they fixed my legs and now I can dance like I used to. I can do everything in the same high heels, those high heels you used to see me in. I can still dance up a storm. I just don't dance up a storm because I figured I'm an older girl now. There's 5,000 young girls now dancing. Let them dance.
yes, and that's how I look at it. Just let them do the work.
Yeah, let them
Yeah,
dance.
you don't
You
have anything much to prove. You have already proved it already.
That's
You
right.
don't need,
I have
you don't,
nothing to prove to nobody.
exactly, exactly. So tell me all about LaCage and talk more about your experiences for LaCage because I know before coming to St. Martin you were involved with Cowboy LaCage, Toronto, you traveled the world doing the LaCage in Helsinki and different parts of the world and then you came to St. Martin. That's how we met per se and I got to know more about you. So tell me about this whole LaCage experience. That the people of today don't know, I mean the younger ones
Well,
instead
you
of
know,
LaCage.
but you know, I want to tell you a little story about Lacage, and you're going to find this rather amusing. And Larry Edwards would probably have heard this from Frank Marino. Before I was even ever really doing drag, I met Frank Marino at the Copa for 5 minutes. He thought I was Larry Edwards. And I was just myself at the bar. He came up to me and he was in this Diana Ross drag in all this red gown and this big wig and everything. And he stood there for a minute and he asked me if he could buy me a drink. And he says, "Your name Larry?" And I said, "Yeah, my name's Larry." And he thought I was Larry Edwards. So he bought me a drink and we talked for a minute and we weren't talking about the Lacage show he was going to do at the Riviera. He was just sort of looking at me like, well, like maybe like we hadn't had a conversation before. Finally, he realized I wasn't the Larry he was looking for.
Right,
So
right.
he took off outside to go talk to Crystal Woods, who I used to hang out with at the Copa. And Crystal Woods used to hang out at the back bar at the Copa all the time as Diana Ross in drag. And she used to
Yeah.
sit back at the back bar and drink. And it was the most hilarious thing ever. Me and Crystal Woods, we laughed about that for years. Now, how I got attached to Lacage, I first, once I finished school, I was at home. And I had a friend that used to come visit me from Toronto all the time. And he said, "Well, you know, girl, there's a show in Toronto called The Imposters, and they're looking for somebody." And at the time, Curtis, I hadn't, what do you call it, crafted my skills for me well enough to be doing things on large stages.
Right.
But yet I knew I was winning all these contests. After I won Miss Hollywood pageant out of 11 girls, I knew that I was ready. I could perform, but I didn't know about the look-alike thing.
Right.
So I started focusing on Janet Jackson first because I was always, lovely to look at. So and Tina was kind of masculine, so I wasn't really geared towards that, even though I had that athletic body.
Right.
So once I went to a club in Miami and I entered and I did Tina Turner and tore the house completely down, I said, okay, I've got to do this. So now I had Janet Jackson under my belt and Tina Turner. They offered me a job in Toronto. They called me and said, "We have a job for you, a job offer, if you want to come." Working with the Imposters. And I'm going to be honest, it was only $700 a week. And I said no. So they came back to me again and said $900 a week. So I said, okay. So they brought me to Toronto and while I was in Toronto, Gunther, who owned LaCage, saw me. He phoned me immediately and said, I would like to have you in the show at LaCage. And I said, well, I'm not really, you know, this whole drag thing, I don't really understand. But he eventually convinced me to leave LaCage. I won't say how much money, but it was a good salary. It was better than what I was making. And
Right.
so I left LaCage. I left the Imposters and went to LaCage. And that's how it all got started for me. Then Gunther flew me to Miami to start doing shows with Gypsy and all the other queens, Joe Posa, and all these people I started meeting. Then I was meeting April. I was traveling around so much. I was connecting with all these different entertainers, and that's what kept me working. People liked me. They liked my look. They liked my energy. The only thing that I thought was wrong with LaCage for me was always the pay.
Oh, so the pay wasn't all of that compared to it wasn't all of that compared to maybe to other gigs or what you probably could have made on it for yourself.
Yeah, I think that I could have made more money staying home
Wow, I didn't know that.
because I could have traveled around and
Yes.
made a lot of money. In LaCage, when we were in LaCage in St. Martin, we were kind of like just stuck there.
Well, yes, yes, I understand the St. Martin situation in terms of the money, but I had always felt that the locage and stuff from the other, from like around the world or wherever you did, that the pay was fabulous. I thought for me, and maybe not so because it was new for me that I
Hmm.
felt like you guys were making a whole ton of money and whatnot, but maybe for you, knowing what you were capable of doing and knowing what other people were making and whatnot for themselves out there, maybe not so much. But the nice thing was that it was steady work.
Well,
You
for me, I went because I knew that Lou Paciocco, who owned LaCage, could travel the show around. And he was very active with keeping the show alive. So I already knew that the opportunities would come for me. That's why I stuck it out with them. Otherwise, I'm the type of person I would have left right away. I held my tongue with a lot of stuff because I was waiting for that opportunity. For
right,
them,
right, so you were building yourself up, let's per se. You were creating yourself. I mean, you were already doing what you were doing, but you were creating your name by going around with the locage, moving around and stuff like that. So wonderful. But tell us,
I was learning a lot from them. And a
right,
lot of the girls, since they liked me, they shared a lot of the underlying secrets of how to get more money, how to get them to do things as far as changing your number if you didn't like the way the number was choreographed or this way or that way. And they taught me a lot about that. And Gypsy taught me a lot how to stand up for myself.
great, 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 great. So how long did it take you to what you say to probably perfect Janet Jackson to the point
Well,
and
let me tell you something, Curtis. To do any celebrity look-alike and to do it correct, you have to do it for hours and days, over and over and over and over again, trial and tribulation. Because trust me, there's some times where I had too much makeup on, or I didn't have the right makeup on, and it was me trying out different makeup. But you remember back then, we didn't have access to really good makeup. St. Martin's not a place for good makeup.
right, right,
And
yeah,
even though we brought stashes of makeup, we were there how long? 2 years? I mean, it was a long time. So we could not, I mean, how do you stock up 2 years worth of makeup in St. Martin and good makeup? So we weren't, a lot of us weren't looking the best as we could look because of the products and the stuff that we were using. Now, it took me years to perfect Tina Turner, but I learned because I am a passionate person that's where I look at celebrities first. I look at what their passion is, what's easy for them to do. And Tina Turner had that turmoil passion thing inside her. And I had that inside of me because I was leaving my home, going to a foreign place, and then realized when we got there, what Joby would say, we were on a rock. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? But all of that came out with me performing. This is why I used to jog all the time and do all these things and be active because I needed to get that energy out of me and that sort of uncertainty of, I don't know if this is going to work.
Okay, great. All right, so now we are already in St. Martin, and you're talking about your situation that you were in St. Martin with LaCage group and whatnot. So we're gonna go right ahead and go into it. So you were here, you were flew in for the first LaCage, which, like I said, to me was the real deal. The first LaCage. And who were the owners of the first LaCage again?
Well, the first owners was Michael Crowley and Lou Paciocco, and JD.
Yes.
She
Yes.
was the owner, but Lou was the owner of the name of LaCage. So she bought the rights to produce the show from Lou Paciocco, and Michael was the co-producer.
Oh, great, fabulous. You see, some of these details and information, a lot of people don't know, and I'm sure you're calling these names, so some of people are like, who the hell are you talking about?
Oh,
But that is, but for old school and people who have been through and whatnot, which is solid information and which good stuff, that's why I wanted to bring it out so that so a lot of people could understand and know more about the depths of the whole Lakat situation, and which was great and did a lot of great work for the artists. So I remember when I first went to the first Lacage here in St. Martin, and I saw this review and the show and saw you and all the artists, and I was like, wow, this is great. I had never seen anything like it. It was something like, from in a dream and whatnot for me, and I was like, this is what I think I want to do. I want to do this. I didn't know anything about celebrity impersonation. I wasn't even close to anything like that, and what have you. So you all did that, and I saw that, and it was wonderful. Then the show lasted for about a year or so, a year plus maybe, and then it left, and about a few months after, I hear about a second Lakat show that was coming together and whatnot, and they needed somebody to work as assistant backstage and whatnot. And I applied for this thing, and through the find that you knew people, and it was just right after, sadly, Hurricane Lewis, and nobody knew what was really going to happen after Hurricane Lewis, if the island would bounce back, how would the show do and whatnot. But for us, it was a great opportunity to still have moving forward and whatnot. So we come to the second Lacage, which you were featured in, and I say, to me, the generic version of the first one, not being mean or anything like that, but for me personally, the first one was the real deal. But the second one had its beauty. It had its beauty and stuff and whatnot. Gypsy was fantastic. David as well was fantastic. Stole the show. Tina and Janet used to bring the house down. And then you had April Summers, which we used to say Mother, that used to, with a Patti LaBelle, which the first Lacage didn't have. So in some ways, with the two, one had some elements of greatness, and the other one, so it was nice. So April used to steal the show with Patty when she would come out, and when she would finish, everybody would be standing it would be a standing ovation for Mother April Summers and whatnot. So we had great time together, and
Mm-hmm.
I was starstruck working backstage, learning all this stuff about, with all the curtains, when this has to get pulled, when this has to get unset and whatnot. And I must admit, it was really a rough period of time for, I think, for all of us. Even though on stage everything with all the glitz, glamour, and show, behind the stage we were dealing with quite a lot of issues and some dramas and stuff with the show itself and whatnot. And I knew, for me itself, I was dealing with a few things. Number one, my manager, she was always on my back and she was being mean to me. You remember that? And I
Oh,
remember you guys would say, but why is she, Curtis, why is she always picking on you? Why is she always picking
mm-hmm.
on you? And April would be like, girl, it's not my deal. I never mind my business. But if it was me, I would stand up for myself and let her have it. Curtis, why do you do this? You remember that?
Yeah, she used to be pretty mean to you, didn't she?
Yeah, she was. She was, man, and I took as much as I can take. I took until one day, whatever you said, whatever April was saying, the voices in my head just came alive, and I stood up for myself and let her have it. And then she went to Billy, who was the owner, the production manager of the whole show, and blast my name with it. But for some reason, Billy had liked me. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. Well, Billy, I think Billy had the little huts for me somehow. So he was like, leave him alone, leave him alone, leave him alone. So a lot of my friends, like my people from Trinidad and stuff, wanted, like, I gave them the stories, like, how the hell you manage to get on stage.
Well,
How did
Curtis, when
you
you
know?
think about it, regardless of all the dramas, that LaCage show set a precedent for
Yes,
the LGBT community to have an
yeah,
outlet and to show them that there are people just like them all over the world. And
exactly.
regardless if they're just entertainers or they're performers, but we were a bunch of gay men in a different spectrum. China was a trans woman. April was a
Yes,
trans woman. I was a man. Gypsy was a man, and a lot of us were in between of our sexualities and the way we lived, and this was a good thing for Saint Martin to see.
yes, and I'm glad that you brought up that point, because when you think that now that they're talking about all of that we are talking about in the early night, around 95, 96. That was already visual that was happening in St. Martin. So, to really bring up that point, that probably that show was pioneer in terms of visually bringing that alive. Great, great for that. So I wanted to tell you, so give me a little feedback at how you think, because sometimes what I think I have in my head of how I believe, I see how me ending up on stage with Diana Ross
Well,
and
Curtis, the second show, we needed acts for the show. The other, like you said earlier, a lot of the entertainers were dealing with a lot of underlying issues, whether it was something from home or their health or whatever was going on with them in a relationship sort of a way. Because Joby was married back home, April was in some kind of a relationship, and she owned all this stuff in Detroit that she really needed to look after. But April, she loves entertaining, and that was her thing. And of course, China, who couldn't get to her hormone pills, who was
yes,
about to have a spell, going through all that, and of course me being away from Canada and what I know, and not sure if this show is going to work. And then when the second show happened after the hurricane, they knew they had a good thing in their hands. That's why they were